Vamos.
בשם השם נעשה ונצליח, והשם עלינו ברחמיו ירוויח. Today, it's a privilege to introduce our world speaker, Rab Manis Friedman, Shalita. It's an honor to have him today in Gam Zum Letova. The shiur should be Leilu Nishmat Ali ben Simcha ben Israel ben Rachel Menuhatot ben Gan Eden. Chabot, mi querido Elías.
Gracias, Ham Yossi. Muy buenas noches a todos. Bienvenidos a la tercera tanda, Baruch Hashem. Qué bonito decir así, de Gam Zum Letova. Tenemos el privilegio, como ya dijo mi querido socio Ham Yossi Mizrahi, de tener al reconocido Rab Manis Friedman, orador internacional y mundial. Es un placer tenerlo el día de hoy. Ahora que esté en pantalla lo diremos en inglés, pero mientras quiero decirle, porque veo muchas caras nuevas, que Baruch Hashem Gam Zum Letova tiene dando shiurim casi ya un año todos los días. Para la gente que por primera vez nos conoce, pueden entrar. Tenemos los shiurim desde 7:15 a 8 de la noche, lunes con Ham Suri Katán, martes, miércoles y jueves con Ham Jakhilu, con el tema de Birkat Amazon, y de 8 a 9 diarios los shiurim de Gam Zum Letova. Mañana tenemos a Ham Yaakov Nakash, el martes tenemos a Ham Yosef Chayo con Abu Tzonana. También tenemos el miércoles a Rav Shlomo Benjamu, el jueves Ham Suri Katán, la próxima semana en nuestra doble cartelera de los domingos a Rav Moshe Alfie con Ham Shaul Malech, y hace 2 semanas, orgullosamente, Baruch Hashem, con la ayuda de Boreolam y de todos ustedes, familia Gam Zum Letova, lanzamos nuestra página torazum.com, donde todos los shiurim que están escuchando y que han escuchado en el pasado están ya en la página. Hay más de 1000 shiurim cargados, y creemos que es la página más alta en tecnología y también en shiurim de Torah de habla hispana, para que todos nos ayuden a difundirla, y el que quiera apoyarnos en esta gran misvá de donar para Refuah Shelema o para Leilu Nishmat o para Berajá y Atzlajá, Ham Yossi publicará en el chat para que todos nos puedan ser socios y parte de esta gran misvá. También decirles, como ya dije, tenemos una cartelera espectacular. Ojalá que nos acompañen todas las noches, de domingo a jueves. Esta línea Baruch Hashem no ha parado. El 11 de abril cumplimos un año desde que empezó esta pandemia, pero Baruch Hashem, la luz de esta pandemia ha sido Gam Zum Letova y nuestra familia que entra a estas clases, que Baruch Hashem lo hacen todos los días. Ojalá que nos puedan acompañar. No sé si ya está Rab Manis adentro, Emilio Penjos Kichik. No sé si ya está dentro, déjeme ver si ya está Rab Manis para hacerlo co-host. Un segundo, por favor. Ok. ¿Me avisas, Emilio Penjos, por favor, cuando ya está dentro? No está todavía, ¿verdad? Ok, me avisas, por favor. Mientras tanto, también decirles que haremos, Bezrat Hashem, en 1 o 2 semanas, 2 clases espectaculares. Una se van a llamar Alajot prácticas para el Seder de Pesach. Todo el que quiera saber del Seder de Pesach, tendremos a Jajamim totalmente especiales en esto, para que les puedan contestar todas sus preguntas acerca de las dudas del Seder. Y también tendremos una clase que se llamará Shabbat Akadol, que lógicamente no será en Shabbat, será en una clase entre semana para explicar la Gadá de Pesach y todo el Seder para toda la gente. Estén conectados, no se lo pierdan, será algo espectacular. Ya lo vamos a planear para una semana antes de nuestra festividad de Pesach, que ya no tarda mucho, y será una cosa muy bonita y muy práctica para todos ustedes, para que puedan estar. Así que les recuerdo, y lo digo otra vez, si lo cuenta Rab Manis, todos los días estamos. Me dicen que ya está Rab Manis Friedman. Ham Yossi, no sé si ya lo hizo co-host, avíseme por favor.
Un segundo.
Déjame ver acá. Ok. Déjame ver cómo. ¿Ya lo vio, Rab Yossi?
No, todavía no.
Ok, parece que ya está co-host. Ok. Espérenme tantito a ver si yo lo puedo ver. Y a ver si ya está co-host. Emilio, ¿ya lo hiciste co-host, Emilio? Ya, no lo veo en pantalla. A Rab Manis, a ver si lo puedo ver. No lo veo en pantalla.
Aparece como
okay.
no.
Ya lo vi. Ok, antes de presentarlo, quiero decir que, bueno, voy a decir en inglés. Rab Manis Friedman Good night. It's a big, big privilege and big zchut to have you tonight. Rab Manis Friedman, very well-known international speaker and very well-known in the Monte Sinai community and in the Mexican community. It's a big, big pleasure to have Rab Manis with us. I want to tell you, Rab Manis, that from Gam Zum Letovah, it's very, very big zchut to have you. And I want to tell you that there's two sponsors in this class. One is Mrs. Frida Winkler used to be from Venezuela, and now she's living in Milwaukee, and she did tova with Rab Manis Friedman before 20 years ago, and she told me to tell to Rab Manis that she keeps in the Torah derech, and she's always in this line. She's a very, very every day and every night she's with us listening the Torah classes. And it's sponsored from Emilio Penjos too, Leilun Ishmat, Elias Benjamile, and I want to say the sponsors from Frida Winkler. 1 second, because I have it here with me. 1 second, please. I'm sorry. 1 second. Okay, it's sponsored from Mrs. Frida Winkler for Leilun Ishmat, his father. Let me see here. Jacob Ben Yehuda Arie, Refuah Shelema Chaya Riva Bacheyena, Tamar Tova Braja Batiste Roiza, Arele Yoshua Levi y Ben Elka y Abraham Ben Shipna. Y también, like I say, Emilio and Penjos Mugrabi brothers, Leilun Ishmat, his dear father, Elias Benjamile. Thank you very much, Rab Manis, to be with us. And I'm going to give the Emilio Penjos Mugrabi to say a brief entrance. Adelante, Emilio.
Hi, Rabbi. Good night. Thank you to join us, and we're very glad to hear you. I think it's very difficult to talk about someone you knew it and a family that were close to you as a family. During these days, we're finishing our 30 days, and we think about you to speak about life and afterlife and what is death. I really never understand in my life what's the real meaning of death until I lost my father. But I remember the first day that I know you was in a conference that you give in South Africa, Sinai Indaba, and you was talking about the afterlife. So I remember you, and I remember you as my friend, and ask you to talk about that for all the people in Latin America, especially Mexico. And the microphone is for you. It's a conference, and I hope that this will be Leilun Ishmat, Abi Mori, Keter Roshi, Eliau Benjamile. Thank you, Rab.
Rab Manis, your co-host, you can open your microphone. You can open your microphone and you can start talking, Rab Manis. Okay, it's open.
So I see that this is not only Mexico City.
No, it's 14 countries in Latin America. This is a line called Gam Zum Letovah that Baruch Hashem has almost 1 year, every night giving 2 shiurim of Torah with around an average of 300 to 400 people every night. We have different Rav, and this is Venezuela, Colombia, Argentina, Chile, Mexico, United States, Ecuador, like 14 countries that Baruch Hashem, we have the privilege that every night they are with us, and we almost gonna have 1 year on the air giving Torah classes every day with my partner Yossi Mizrahi and me giving Torah classes every night, Baruch Hashem, and we open a page called Torah Zoom that we have more than 1,000 shiurim in Spanish, and this shiur of Rab Manis Friedman is going to be in the page after it's finished. And Baruch Hashem, the people is starving from Torah, and we see it with 300 to 400 people every night, Rab Manis, Baruch Hashem.
Beautiful, beautiful. I see you have San Miguel. I see
Oh,
somebody.
yeah, San Miguel de Allende. I know you have your son. It's from Rama from there. Yeah,
My granddaughter.
beautiful, beautiful.
I see somebody from Israel, or is that a fake background?
Yeah. That's from Israel. Now in Israel, it's 4:00 in the morning, and we have 2 or 3 people every night from Israel that wake up early to see the shooting.
Wow. Okay, now I feel a lot of pressure. Okay, so let's talk about what they call afterlife. The first thing we need to do is correct that expression. There is no afterlife because life never ends. So that whole idea is confusing. Is there life after death? That is so confusing. No, there's no life after death. The question is, does death mean there's no life? Can life ever end? For a very, very long time, as far as anybody can remember, people always believed that life is temporary, it's brief, it's very short. You got to be really ambitious because you got to accomplish a lot in a very short time. But death is forever. Isn't that depressing? Does that make any sense at all? Life is good. Life is precious. Life is meaningful. Life is rich. Life is real. But that's all temporary. Death is nothing. It means nothing. It's not precious at all. It doesn't do any good for anybody, but that's forever? Can that be? It can't be. So I want to share a few thoughts with you that goes against everything we always believed and everything you hear on the subject that is not quite correct, to put it mildly. For example, what is this thing called Gehinnom? What is this thing called hell? Who goes there? Why do people go there? For how long do they go there? What do they do there? What happens there, like in the morning, at night? For many, many years, the thought of going to Gehenna, of going to hell, was very, very scary. It was intimidating. It was a little depressing. But it was supposed to motivate us to want to be good. Let's understand what it really is in a Jewish way of thinking, not a non-Jewish way. So first, like the language. When people who sin die, they go to Gehenna. They go to hell. That's not correct. We got to be really careful with our words because once we get used to a certain expression, it leads to certain conclusions that are not correct. So here's your first surprise. Nobody goes to Gehenna. It's not a place and you don't go there. Nobody goes there. Nobody wants to go there. The minutes before a person passes away, try to imagine, what is a person thinking in the last minutes before they pass away? They're thinking of all their regrets. I wish I had done more good. I wish I had been nicer. I wish I had been smarter. I wish if I had more time, I would do more good. I would be kind. We have lots of regrets. Lots of regrets. If you want to make it really visible, tangible, everything we do with every part of our body can carry some regret. So you go down start from your head down. How did I use my brain? I regret how I used my brain. I should have used it better. My eyes. I regret the things I looked at, the things I wanted to see. I regret it. My mouth. The things I ate that I shouldn't eat, the things I said I shouldn't have said, the way I spoke, I shouldn't have spoken that way. Go down through the entire body, and everything you did with every part of your body, there's some regrets. But when the soul is in the body, the regret is not so painful because the body is not so sensitive. Once the soul leaves the body, all those regrets become intense. You really, really regret it. And you're really, really embarrassed and ashamed that you didn't do better. How many different things are you ashamed of? It's pretty a long list. But really, what's going on? What's going on is that the neshama, the soul that gave life to the body, continues to live. Not it continues to exist. It continues to live. It continues its life. It's the same character. It's the same personality, with the same memories, with the same weaknesses, not sins. A soul doesn't have sins, but a soul can have weaknesses like laziness or a temper. The soul that was angry and had a bad temper while it was in the body has it after it leaves the body too. Which means that those souls that left their bodies didn't change their personalities. They're the same people with the same relationships. So your father is still your father. Your mother is still your mother. See, in the non-Jewish thinking, everyone who dies goes to heaven and becomes an angel. An angel has no relationships. An angel doesn't have children. An angel doesn't have friends. An angel doesn't have parents. I don't know what an angel has, but it's not a person. When the soul leaves the body, it remains the same person. So really, nothing has changed. So what died? The soul can't die. It can't. It's a living thing. A living thing can't die. Just like a dead thing can't live, a living thing can't die. So the soul doesn't die. It doesn't die at all. It doesn't even forget. It remembers you. It still cares about you in the same way that he cared while he was in the body, maybe a little more. So maybe the body died. Maybe death means the body died. That's also not really so correct, because the body was never a living thing. So if it was never really alive, how can it die? If it is really alive, then it stays alive. So the soul can't die because it's alive. The body can't really die because it was never alive. It was just getting energy from the soul. So what died? What was alive that isn't alive anymore? Nothing. Nothing. Whatever is alive stays alive. So what ended? What ended was the contract. Every time a soul comes into a body, there's a contract for how long the soul is going to be in this body. When the time is up, then the soul goes back to being a soul, and the body goes back to being a body. So they each go back to where they came from. The body goes back to the earth because a body is made out of earth. The soul goes back to being a soul, which is like in heaven. A soul without a body is heaven. So what is hell? The adjustment, the change, going from being in a body to being without a body is a drastic change. And there's a lot of embarrassment. That's hell. We say you burn in hell. What burns in hell? Your body? No, the body doesn't feel anything. Your soul burns? How do you burn a soul? The soul can only burn from shame. Like we use the expression when you're very embarrassed, it's like you're burning with shame because you get hot. What is the shame? The shame is I could have done better. My mind could have done better. My eyes could have been better. My mouth could be better. My hands could be better. My heart could be better. Everything could be better. Now, you might have heard from some rabbis how the soul is tortured in hell, in Gehenna. Your eyes are tortured, just very, very graphic. What that really means is that you're embarrassed about what you did with your eyes. You're embarrassed with what you did with your mouth. You're embarrassed. There is no burning with fire, with being sliced up and chopped up. And that is so not Jewish. Every soul is godly. And a godly soul that did things that was not godly is embarrassed. Of course it's embarrassed. But you get over it. You move past it. So nobody goes to hell. Everybody goes through hell. You go through the experience. It's not a place where people settle. It's not a place at all. It's an experience. There are pleasant experiences and there are painful experiences, but you don't go into pain. You go through pain. So Gehenna or hell is an experience that every soul has, because every soul that was in a body has regrets. So if you say to somebody, you're going to go to hell, and who is not? Who is not? So being intimidated and threatened by the suffering of hell, it's not a good subject. It's way out of proportion. It's not supposed to be what makes you get up in the morning and be good. Everybody goes through that adjustment, because to get back to being a soul without a body is not easy. So everybody goes through an adjustment, and the adjustment is embarrassing. But the embarrassment doesn't last forever. So by the end of 12 months, every person, every soul has adjusted, gotten over all the embarrassment. There's no more embarrassment. Now he is a happy soul, being a soul, and that's called heaven. Most people don't have to have 12 months. And that's why we say Kaddish for 11 months. Because Kaddish helps the soul adjust, get over the bad memories. So we say Kaddish for 11 months. Most people don't even need 11 months. But we don't know. So we give the full 11 months. Some people don't even need a week. Some people need 1 hour. For example, God forbid, children who pass away, they don't have many regrets. They don't have any sins. But, they may have done some things that were not so holy, so they have an hour of regret and then they're fine. People who die during a plague don't spend any time with regrets. Why? Because their death was so painful. Being all alone, isolated, nobody wants to touch them. That removes all regrets, it removes all sin, and that soul goes straight to heaven. Doesn't even stop for a minute in that painful experience. We have to believe without a doubt that the people who died from COVID, who were isolated, and even if they didn't have COVID, they were isolated anyway, because no one is allowed to visit anyone in the hospital. So when they needed their family most, they couldn't be there. All those souls went straight to heaven. They may not even need Kaddish to begin with. And some of them didn't have Kaddish because there were no shuls, there were no minyan. Everything was closed. So let's now take a look. What is the process? What does it mean to pass away? And that's a good expression. The soul doesn't end, life doesn't end, it passes from here to there. It's like you live in an apartment building For a long time, you lived on the first floor, and then you move up to the top floor. You didn't end, you moved up. You passed away. So if we want to understand the process of passing away, we have to compare it to the process of being born. A soul comes into a body at birth, and a soul leaves the body at the end of its contract. Coming into the body and leaving the body are similar. You know, a reverse of each other. No soul can come into the body in a minute. It's too shocking. That's why there are 9 months of gestation, of pregnancy. The soul has to get used to being a body. It can't go so suddenly from being unlimited and free to suddenly being stuck in a tiny body. In fact, it doesn't even begin with conception. It starts months earlier. Like we know that 40 days before conception, the soul is told what life is going to be. You're going to be strong, you're going to be rich, you're going to be male, you're going to be female, you're going to marry so-and-so will marry so-and-so. So you're given a little picture of life so that the soul can at least think about being in a body before it gets into the body. So really, the entire process of a soul coming into a body takes 12 months. And that's why in the Torah, where, for example, Avraham and Sarah are given a blessing by the angel that they're going to have a child, the blessing is this time next year, which means a year from now. Why a year from now? Why not 9 months? Because the process of birth really takes 12 months. There are a few months of preparation, introduction, getting emotionally ready. Then there's conception and 9 months of pregnancy. So the soul has to gradually, step by step, come into the body. At conception, that's the first contact that the soul makes with a physical substance. There isn't much of a body. It's not even a fetus yet, but it's physical. And that's pretty shocking, even after all the preparation. So David HaMelech says in Tehillim, Avi ve'imi azavuni v'Hashem ya'asfeni. My mother and father abandoned me, but God took me in. What does it mean my mother and father abandoned me? At conception, there is nothing the mother and father can do for the baby. They can't help the baby at all. They might not even know that there was conception. So at the time of conception, what are the mother and father doing? Usually sleeping. So who's taking care of this tiny baby? Hashem. God gathered me in, took care of me when nobody else could. After conception, the soul and the body kind of merge. The body gets bigger, the soul comes more into the body. after 40 days after conception, the connection is becoming really significant. And then abortion is not allowed. Third month, at the end of 3 months of pregnancy, that's another major stage of connection. Then 5 months, then 9 months. All of this time, the body and the soul grow closer and closer to each other. Then at birth, major giant step forward. But at birth also, David HaMelech says, Gam ki elech begeitz al maves, lo ira ra ki ata imodi. When I go through the dangerous valley, I am not afraid because God is with me. What is the valley of death? The birth process. When the fetus leaves the womb where it is safe and comfortable and comes out into the world where it doesn't yet know how to breathe, that's a pretty dangerous valley. Scary. How does the fetus survive this trauma? Because God is there and the fetus knows it. So the fetus has the courage to go through that trauma. So every fetus that is born has already had an experience with God. That's how it survives the trauma. Now we know that while it's in the womb, the fetus feels like it's in heaven. Compared to being out of the womb, it is heaven. So what does the fetus do while it's in the womb? It learns the entire Torah. Isn't that what a soul does when it leaves the body and goes to heaven? In Gan Eden, it learns Torah. So the beginning of life and the conclusion of life have a lot in common. The trauma of being born makes the fetus forget what it learned. It erases the memory. So if it's such a terrible trauma, how does the baby survive at all? Because God is there. That's why it is safe to assume that at the end of life, when a person is about to pass away, even if all his life he didn't believe in God, in the last minutes, he not only believes in God, he sees God. Just like the fetus felt God's presence that gave it courage to come into the world, every person before they pass away experience God again, and that gives them the courage to leave the world. So nobody dies an atheist. So let's continue with the birth process. After being born, the body and the soul are still not solid for 3 months. After 3 months, when the baby is 3 months old, the body and the soul have merged in a very strong, healthy way. The godly soul continues to merge with the body for 12 years in a girl and 13 years in a boy. At the end of 12 years in the girl and 13 years in the boy, the body and the soul are completely merged. Now, what happens at the end? Again, the same thing. The soul can't just leave the body. It needs to be able to understand what's going to happen. It needs to be warned before it happens, and it needs to get ready. Many people will tell you that a month before they passed away, they knew. They knew. They weren't afraid, but they were sure. This is it. Some people are not so conscious, but they all know. So the first thing that happens is the soul is told it's time. Some people know a year in advance. They know this is their last year. My mother, she was 101. She knew. And the week that she passed away, she knew that that was it. And that gives the person a chance to do the things that they wanted to do, to say what they needed to say, to kind of end responsibly. Then comes the moment when the body and the soul start to separate. It doesn't happen all at once. The soul removes itself, but stays very close to the body. It's hard. It's hard to say goodbye. Those are the most painful days after a person is buried, because the soul doesn't want to leave the body. It's out of the body, but it doesn't want to go away. So for 3 days, it is in a lot of pain. And that's why we sit Shiva for 7 days. The first 3 days are very painful. The next 4 days, a little less painful. By the end of 7 days, you gotta stop. Shiva is over. Don't feel bad for the soul anymore, because the soul is not in pain. But it still doesn't want to give up on its body. So for 30 days, it clings, it stays close to the body. That's why at the end of 30 days, we make a special event like tonight, because the soul is going through another significant change. But this time it's the change of disconnecting. Then for a year, the soul continues to remember being in a body, the pleasure of being in a body. It still has the body on its mind. By the end of the year, the soul is perfectly happy to be out of the body and just a soul. So on the yahrzeit, on the day of the passing, that's another major disconnect, and the soul goes up higher. Aliyah, right? The neshama has an aliyah. What does it mean, an aliyah? It gets more distance from the body, free of the body. However, the soul never completely leaves and forgets, because it's going to come back to the body. After Mashiach comes, that same neshama is going to come back to the same body that it had, and it never gives up. And that's why you have to have such kavod for the body. You have to bury it correctly. You have to clean it, because the soul is going to want to come back to it. So once a person has passed away, and you've said Shiva, and you've said Kaddish, then what? What is your relationship with the soul then? So if it's a father, your relationship is, that's your father, and you're the son or the daughter. If it's a grandfather, the grandfather remains a grandfather, and you're the grandchild, and you're the grandson or the granddaughter. If, God forbid, it's a child who passed away and the parents are still alive, the parents remain parents, the child remains their child. So the parents on earth still need to parent their child who is in heaven. The child that is on earth still need to honor their parents who are in heaven. The relationship doesn't change. Now, the danger is that many instances where the death was shocking or unexpected or horrible, or the person who is grieving and mourning forgets the relationship and just focuses on mourning. That's why, according to Jewish custom, at the end of the Shiva, people have to say to the mourner, "Get up," even though he's getting up. But you have to say it. Get up. Go back to being the relationship that you've had. At the end of Shiva, go back to being the father, the mother, the son, or the daughter. Because that's what you are. The danger is if you become like a professional mourner. From now on, all I do is mourn. That's not good for anybody. So if instead of being a father to the child who passed away, you become a mourner of the child doesn't need mourning. The child needs a father and a mother, even if it's from a distance. The father who passed away, the mother, doesn't need you to mourn, needs you to be their child, to honor them, just like when they were here. Only you honor them in different ways. One of the things, and this is really practical and important, you quote your father. That's honoring your parents. So if you do something Jewish and you say, "My father did it this way. My father taught me to do it like this. My father wants me to do it like this," that's honoring your father. If you quote something smart, wise, that your father told you, that's honoring your father. And to your children, it's particularly important. Quote your father to your children or to your grandchildren. They need to know where they're coming from. They need to know who their ancestors are and how special they were and how wise and how good and how Jewish. So even if you don't really remember your father saying this smart thing, give him the credit anyway. Because, yeah, he probably said it. but it's an honor for your father. It makes you feel like a good son, and it makes your child feel proud of where he comes from. Because most children think that the world began when they were born. There was nothing before me. So connect the generations. Quote your parents to your children. Be the bridge. And the more you quote, the better. The more you attribute, the better. When children know that what's happening in their house comes from their grandfather who is in heaven, that is powerful. That's real life. It's not temporary. Death is temporary. So what happens after you finish saying the year of Kaddish? Now you start thinking, he's coming back. Death is temporary. Now, unfortunately, for many souls, death was temporary for thousands of years. Like Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu is passed away temporarily. But that was 3,000 years ago. It's a long temporary. The people who are passing away this year, it's going to be a very short temporary. It almost doesn't pay to die anymore. You're coming right back. What's the point of dying? But it's going to be very short. This is what we need to tell our children about dying. It's not forever. And in our time, it's going to be a very short temporary. And the person does not die. Grandpa is still the same grandpa, same sense of humor, if he had a sense of humor. Whatever he didn't like, he still doesn't like. If he said, don't talk like that, he still doesn't want you to talk like that. But now you'll take him more seriously. So, if we understand what it is, it's not so terrible and it's not so scary. It's serious, but not scary. We shouldn't be afraid of it. Of course, we don't want it. But we shouldn't be intimidated. It shouldn't be a threat. Not death and not Gehenna. It's not a threat, it's just a process. Everybody goes through a painful delivery when they're born, contractions and pressure, and everybody goes through a painful adjustment when they leave the body. That's the Jewish view. The emphasis on the tortures and the things and the suffering and the demons, that's not Jewish.
Rabbi, if I can ask you, what about us, we that we are here on earth, waiting for that answer to get on our brains? What can we think about it? And how do we fill our heart with the love that you say?
Do what a son is supposed to do. At least once a week. What did you do for your father?
Honoring his name.
Yes. Whatever you can do for him, you give tzedakah for him, he loves it. because he wishes he could give tzedakah. If you quote him, he loves it. If you do a mitzvah because he influenced you to do that mitzvah, he loves it. So you can do more for him now than you did while he was alive. So don't change your identity and don't change your relationship.
Rabbi, thank you for your very deep lecture. I have two questions that the people is asking me, and somebody write me like this: if I understand correctly, why does the soul have to be prepared with concepts in 12 months to enter? If the soul comes from Hashem and from a pure Kadosh place, why must it take 12 months to enter the body?
The question is also the answer. The soul is coming from a very holy place, and it's going to enter into a world that is very unholy. You can't make such a shock. You have to prepare slowly. Get the soul ready. It shouldn't be such a shock that it'll be too much.
They asked me too, Rabbi, that if the soul of the tzaddikim, that we are connected to them and we ask them to pray to Hashem, we're more connected to the tzaddikim or we're more connected to our family? For example, Chas v'shalom, some relative that died, we should ask for that soul or for the soul of the tzaddikim?
Both. The tzaddik has a certain power, and of course a mother or somebody who really cares about you, personal, also has a certain power. So there are certain things that only your parents can do for you, and there are certain things that only a tzaddik can do for you. So go to both.
Somebody asked me, Rab, that how can one explain infertility?
Infertility?
Yes.
It is a total mystery. It's a total mystery to the experts who are supposed to be the experts. We don't understand it because it's something that God never gave away. He is still completely in control of it. And the same with life and death. We don't understand it.
I have a great question here. Somebody asked me, do the person who died know what happened on earth? For example, they see their family?
Yes. They don't stop being family. They don't stop being mothers. They don't stop being fathers. They don't stop being brothers. They don't stop. That's what it means that the soul doesn't die. It stays the same person with the same interests, with the same feelings, with the same memories.
Somebody asked me why it's so difficult to find a shidduch for somebody.
That's a sudden change of topic.
José Ventolil, adelante.
Shkoyach Rab Friedman, Shalom Aleichem. I would like to ask you if after the person passed away, after 120 years, the neshama goes upstairs. I heard a few times, few rabbis, that they say that the neshama goes down again because he didn't finish his work in this earth. So in which body this neshama is going to go up again in Olam Haba?
There are many parts to the neshama. In every lifetime, one part of the body, at least one part of the soul, gets finished. Like, for example, the kindness, the chesed of the soul. In this lifetime, the soul did all the chesed that it was supposed to do. So the chesed part of his soul does not have to come back. It could be that there's only one of 7 parts that needs to come back. That part comes back and becomes another body and lives another life. The other 6 parts of the soul stay in Shamayim. So when we say the soul comes back, not the whole soul, the part that is not yet finished. That's why you go to the grave of a tzaddik because you want to talk to the tzaddik. But what if he was already reincarnated? He's somebody else now. Now, only one piece of the soul can come back again. The part that still has more to do. So, for example, we know that Moshe Rabbeinu came back to be Rabbi Akiva. That's why they both lived to be 120. And they both started their career after they were 40 years old.
Rab, I don't know if this is the same question, but they asked me like this. When people came to the world for a second time with a different body, which body that soul will use when Mashiach come?
I think that was part of your question also, Jose. Yeah, so which body is the soul going to come back to? All of them.
Yeah, all of them. Mm-hmm.
And the reason that it comes back to the body is because the body has not yet been rewarded for the mitzvot that the body did. The neshama goes to heaven, gets a reward. And what about the body? You can't do a mitzvah without a body. So when will the body get the reward?
Somebody told me, Rab, that this answer is because she has a dream. And she said like this, my mom passed away about 8 months ago. Does she connect to her children after she died? If yes, how?
So what did this woman say?
So she's asking that the mom passed away 8 months ago. She wants to know if the mother that passed away is connected to her children after she died, and if yes, how she's connected.
She's connected like a mother. She worries about them. She prays for them. She does whatever she can to make sure that their life goes well. And sometimes she will come in a dream and tell you.
This is a beautiful, Raf. This is a beautiful, and I want to answer this. If a soul reincarnates in another soul, does he have the same challenges?
The soul reincarnates in another body.
In another body. Does he have the same challenges?
Yes, because he's coming back to finish the job he didn't finish, which means that he had a challenge. He didn't finish that challenge, so he comes back with the same challenge.
Beautiful. There's plenty. I'm going to make the last one, Rab, because I know it's a little late. It says like this. In Gan Eden, time and space doesn't exist. So why we have to do 7 days Shiva and 30 days Shiva and 11 months Shiva?
The truth is that time does exist in Gan Eden for those souls that were once in a body.
Mm-hmm.
The soul that never came into a body doesn't know what time is.
Mm.
The soul that never came into a body doesn't have a name. Souls don't have names. When the soul comes into a body, you give it a name. And the name is the pipe that connects the soul to the body. That's why we try to give the name as soon as possible. But after the soul leaves the body, it continues to have the name. So when you make a mishaberach, you refer to your father or your mother by their name. So before they came into the body, they didn't have a name. Once they're in a body, they will have that name forever.
Somebody from Wisconsin wants to say hi to the Rab because she said that you're her mentor last 20 years. Adelante, Frida.
Hi, Rabbi Friedman. It's Frida. How are you? I'm so happy and so humbled to have the opportunity to listen to you. When we heard in this amazing group that you were going to be invited, I said, this is the time. There are no casualties in life, as I learned from you, but only casualties. And it's also the slogan of this group. There are no casualties, but casualties. And my two children are in Derech Torah, following your steps. And I'm very, very happy to see you again. Thank you so much, Rabbi.
How did you end up in America?
Well, I met my husband through Frumster at about 10 years ago. Hashem puts me into two different choices, freedom of choice. He said, okay, you can go to Israel and continue being an ophthalmologist as you knew me, or you can come to the States. You're not going to be anymore an ophthalmologist, but you're going to be a mom. You're going to learn how to cook, and you're going to be learning how to be in Torah and learning Tanya and Musar and many, many, many things. So that's how I met my husband in Florida. And after I met him, in 1 week, he proposed me to get married.
And you left Florida to go to Wisconsin?
No, he is originally from Wisconsin. He was born in New York, studied in Chicago and Michigan, and in Madison as a lawyer. And then he was living here and divorcee as I was. You know that, you know very well my story. I remember very well when I told you, Rabbi, how am I going to be able to get over from this? I was very sick. And you told me, Frida, Hashem knocks at the door and he knows with what you have to go through, and he knows you're going to learn and you're going to be great. And you were completely right.
Rab, I want to tell you that Frida enters every night. We have 2 hours class since 7 o'clock Mexican time to 9 o'clock, and Frida every day she's here, she's listening, and she normally once a week give us comments of this shiur, of the other shiur. But Baruch Hashem, she's in the right way because she's learning Torah every night.
But I thought she was supposed to learn to cook.
Well, you have to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get all the meat ready for everybody.
Familia Wasserman.
Thank you very much.
Hi.
Familia Wasserman, ya abrí el micrófono.
Gracias. Good night, Rabbi. I need to ask you a question. My mom passed away a few days ago. We are struggling with that because she was okay, and the doctors call me and tell me that she passed away. How can I know that she's okay? And us as a family, we are struggling with her death. I haven't dreamed about her. I need to know that she's okay. How can I know that?
She will tell you. Give her a little time. Let her settle down a little bit in her new surroundings, and she will let you know.
The pressure is on me because he left my father, my brother, and they were depressed. And I try to do something for them, but they don't allow me to help them. And I want to know how can I do it? I want to know that she's okay, that she's no longer in pain.
She will let you know because she knows how much you need it. She knows. As soon as she can, she will let you know.
Thank you. It's
But don't pressure her. She's got some things to take care of up there. Give her a little time and she'll come and she'll tell you.
Okay, Rab, I just wanna, I don't know how to say because there's so many questions, but it's very difficult to ask everyone. I just want to tell you, Rab, that you're amazing. You change lives always. When here, somebody asked me, is Rab Manis Friedman have books?
Not on this topic.
No, but in any other topic, you have books that we can get?
Yes, you can get, I think it's available in Spanish.
Okay.
Right? Emilio?
Okay, so.
Am I right?
Emilio knows.
Yes, you can find it in Amazon. You can find many of them, and let's see after what we can do for Latin American people.
I don't know what they're called in Spanish, but the first book is Doesn't Anyone Blush Anymore?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the American speaking.
Rabbi,
and the other book is called The Joy of Intimacy.
Yes.
Rabbi, I really want to thank you on the name of my family, the Penjos family, and the Mexico people, Talmud Torah Monte Sinaí, and also I want to share with Elias Levy and Rabbi Mizrahi that every day they do this job. I want to thank you. Thank you for your words. Thank you for your kindness. And let's be in touch again. Thank you very much.
If you have children who read English, there's a children's book called Who Needs You?
Okay.
It would be nice to translate that into Spanish.
We're very proud to have you, Rab. We're very proud. It was a big zchut from Gamzum Letovah that Baruch Hashem has almost 11 months on the air giving shiurim, but this shiur, is a deep shiur that goes into our soul. And I really appreciate Rab Manis for your time. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. And I hope to have Rab Manis soon, because always when we listen to you, we always learn and we always change, and your words penetrate to the soul, to the body, and to the heart. Thank you very much, Rab Manis, for being with us. Hashem bless you, and thank you very much. Thank you to Emilio Penjos Kichik. Thank you to Jack Sasson. Thank you to Penjos brothers, Penjos Mugrabi brothers. Thank you to everybody to make this possible, and it's an honor from Gamzum Letovah. Adelante, Ham Yossi Mizrahi.
You are very welcome. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Thank you very much and good night, Rav. Thank you very much. Gracias a todos. Los esperamos el día de mañana. Como ustedes saben, Gamzum Letovah tiene clases todos los días, desde las 7:15 hasta las 8. Solo mañana habrá una excepción y mañana habrá una sola clase de 8 a 9. Pero martes, miércoles y jueves tenemos a Ham Yahilu, y el martes tenemos a Ham Yosef Chayo con Abud Sonana, miércoles Rav Shlomo Benjamu, jueves Ham Surikatán, y todos los días tenemos. Y no dejen de entrar a la página todas las Rab, they asked me if the next lecture, the next Zoom can be in Spanish.
It should be. He's learning a few
words. They told me Rab maybe should come to San Miguel Allende for some vacations and learn Spanish, that the next one it can be in Spanish.
In fact, my grandchildren who are there will probably be able to give it to you in Spanish.
Because you have to know that like 13, 14 countries from Latin America hear this shiur, and they want. So we're gonna make Jack Sasson or the people from Monte Sinai to make subtitles, because if a Rab have time, I know the Rab is very busy. I want that enter to the page Torah Zoom, TORIZOOM.com, Torah Zoom, that you can see our work. And this shiur that Rab Manis Friedman gave us today is going to be in half an hour on the website. So I hope you can see it. You can. It's more than 1,000 shiurim of Torah that the people can learn, and we want to get to 60,000 shiurim B'ezrat Hashem.
Wow. Anytime you want to make something in San Miguel, I will come.
All right. So we're going to plan it. I'm going to talk to Emilio, and we're going to do it, Rab Manis. Thank you very much. Yossi Mizrahi está por ahí, Jajam. No está por ahí. Okay. So gracias a todos. Thank you very much. Good night. And los esperamos mañana.
And we should hear from our parents in heaven that they're coming back, that they're excited about coming back, that they're proud of us, and that the world is ready. The world is ready to become heaven.
So the Geulah is very soon, Rav?
Very soon, with all the details.
Yeah. So we have the simanim and the details that the Geulah is very soon. So we need to catch the train. Okay. Thank you, Rav.
So the souls should not go up to a higher level. They should start coming back down.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. Thank you very much, Rav. Thank you.
Night.
You know, we can stay with you for another at least 2 hours with the questions that I have and listening to you. It's a very big pleasure. So next time we're going to have you again.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a very meaningful and kosher and happy Pesach.
Same to you, Rav. Thank you very much. Thank you. Gracias, Emilio Pejos Kichik, Emilio Pejos Mugravi, Jack Sasson. Gracias a todos. Que Hashem los bendiga y que pronto nos veamos otra vez. Muy buenas noches a todos. Gracias.
Buenas noches.